You must have heard of this phrase when it comes to product management, right? User does not know what they need. They
Ooh,
work
that's
like
a hot take.
volume never means everything. So if you go at
Ask you as a product leader, what are your hard lessons you stick by?
even if the bubble breaks, will another bubble or will another reality be? But is the customer acting on it?
Okay.
Okay, because if the customer is not acting on it, either they don't trust it or they trust
It's a nightmare for the architect.
there is nothing. Writing is a superpower for
When
PM.
you say writing, you mean documenting experiences. It might be a big challenge as an AI
Right,
leader.
right.
Welcome back to another episode of Ignition, and this is all about you, AI in our future. Here we talk about how AI is going to shape up the way we build products with the ones who are actually building it. Today we have someone very special whose introduction I don't think cannot be completed in one breath. So he has experiences at three major tech firms: Amazon, Salesforce, and right now IBM. He's Kevin Thomas, someone who I regularly lead on LinkedIn, and he's quite popular about his take on AI with a pinch of humor. Welcome, Kevin. Thanks a lot for taking out time, and how are you feeling?
Hey man, Varun, thank you so much for having me. I think we've been talking a lot on having a podcast and stuff like that. I think things weren't aligning, but I think it's good to be here. I'm feeling good. I think it's going to be a good conversation. So, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Kevin, for taking out time. It's very good to see you in flesh, whose LinkedIn posts I usually giggle on daily. I'll take you back a bit and I'll start off with your journey because every product manager has a journey to his name. And you have a very intriguing one because you have worked at three big tech firms and spanned your product experience all three. So, what actually pulled you in the world of product management? I'd like to ask. And at the same time, why did you choose AI as a core space to build in?
Product management has been like super viral in the last 5 years or something like that, right? It was
Mm-hmm.
initially investment banking, management consulting, product management.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a story like I accidentally dropped into product management or stuff like that. But then
Okay.
my story is the fact that I like when I was growing up, I think up until engineering when I graduated in 2019, and then I worked for a year. So I knew development was not, I was decent at it, but I did not want to do it continuously. So I went into MBA. MBA,
Okay.
most people are excited about management consulting and product management, right?
Hmm.
So like maybe it's the next big thing and I'll probably end up liking it and all. So I was
Hmm.
looking out for jobs in management consulting and product management, but campus pay, at least on my campus, not a lot of PM roles were coming in. For the
Okay.
simple reason that PM is like abhi itna wo thoda difficult hai to get into, and it's a very niche kind of, very premium kind of a role. Wo time pe to it was even more difficult, and my campus isn't,
How
the
how
tier one.
how back was it? Pre-COVID?
I was giving interviews at end of 2021, start of
Okay.
2022,
Okay. Okay.
three and a half years back.
Hmm.
So I think wahan se, so I wasn't getting roles. I went into consulting, and I think that is a good thing because I regularly write about these in my posts as well, right? Like you
Hmm.
need to go into product, understand what product management is, right?
Hmm.
So if I had gotten a product role right off the bat, maybe I wouldn't have liked it, right? Because I did not
Acha.
understand the nuance, why I want it and things like that. But then
Hmm.
now, because I'm into consulting, super toxic company, I was like, what am I doing? Right. And
Hmm.
so I started researching whether I actually want to be in product management. Right. And that is when I
Hmm.
realized, ki, okay, this is something that I like. There is so management consulting, product management is not very different. It's like you look at the vision, the business requirements, and all of those things. But then the only major difference is that in consulting, you are working on somebody else's vision. Product management,
Hmm.
to a certain degree, it is your vision, right? भले ही तुम में
Hmm.
the vision and everything comes from above. How you want
Hmm.
to design your experience or your product is on you. So that
Hmm.
is something which I really liked. ठीक है?
But
So
don't you feel the
I
product management consulting basic difference is more like you get to have your hands dirty more in the product management and the reality strikes you in the face daily. Unlike, I guess, consulting where you are, more up in a polished kind of reality, isn't it?
Correct, correct. That is very true. And I think one more thing, good thing about this product management is what you're working on, what you have made efforts to learn and understand. I think you can actually go and see how it is turning out to be. Management consulting में you give you out your data, your decks and everything, and फिर वो company जो करती है वो करती है. If something breaks, it will come back to you. If it goes very well, fine. तो फिर I think they won't come back to you. So there is no way for you to know, right? And coming
Hmm.
back to your hands dirty point, कुछ खराब हो जाए, like the data part, or like if something goes up and down wrong here
Hmm.
and there, you can actually look into your data and pivot, right? Management
Hmm.
consulting is like you hit one shot. If the client likes it, it goes ahead. फिर क्या होता है क्या नहीं होता, it's very difficult to come back and change things. The good thing about
Hmm.
product is you can do that. So I
Hmm.
think that is when I looked at product roles. Obviously, I did not have a very good CGPA in engineering, as well as my MBA college was is not tier one. So मिल नहीं रहा था roles. At least in like things that I was liking. I got a product analyst role, and I was like,
Hmm.
कि the company was not good. Consulting vibes ही आ रहा था and all those things.
Hmm.
So I went long route, the business analyst, program manager kind of a thing. At Amazon, I think I was working probably as a data product manager kind of a role, but with the
Hmm.
title of business analyst. I was working with a
Hmm.
principal tech PM in the US, and I looked at how he
Hmm.
makes decisions and everything. As I felt so validated that this is the path I'm choosing because so I'm
Hmm.
just give an example. You are wearing a blue suit, right? I think it's a black
Hmm.
blue color of a
Blue.
suit.
Yeah.
So if you go on to Amazon's website and let's say
Hmm.
the product description says that the color of your suit is light blue. So
Hmm.
light blue, navy blue, cobalt blue, and all those things are not very different when it comes to, a normal.
Hmm.
But when you look
Right.
at it from huge perspective from Amazon's data, that small change, instead of light, if you write navy blue, it leads to a 10% drop off in views, around 18-19% drop off in like sales. So that is like the attention of detail that was there in Amazon and everything. And that is what made me like wildly curious and, drawn me more toward this.
Hmm. Hmm.
Luckily, Amazon went very well. I think I got a top tier
Hmm.
in there are ratings in Amazon. I got a TT in like 10 months or 12 months, and I was actually fast tracked for a
Where do you
role.
specifically work on? I mean, like which product or feature, or let's say in Amazon, if you
The
can
retail
share.
business services. So Amazon में whatever you see on the website, right? So we were working on
Hmm.
the 8 established marketplaces that Amazon has. I think सब याद नहीं है,
Hmm.
but major your US, UK, I think Germany था, France था, India, Japan,
Hmm.
and I think a few more.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
a very interesting insight over there, I think, which I take into product is that volume never means everything. So if you go at Japan's population compared to India's population, at
Hmm.
least at that
Hmm.
time, Japan was doing, I think, 4x, 5x more sales than us, India, despite it
Okay.
being like a very small country and everything. So I think
Hmm.
volume is not everything. That was one of my very good insights. Volume of data is what I'm talking about. So
Hmm.
Amazon, it was the business services. It was brilliant work, right? Like I think e-commerce is
Hmm.
something I really but I think
Hmm.
that time I'm pivoting into AI models and a lot of other things. So काफी
Hmm.
teams were getting dissolved. So I had an option
Hmm.
कि उसके बाद I got an option to maybe go into a business analyst two role or a program manager two role. So I
Hmm.
made that decision. I think I was in Chennai at that time, and फिर वही था कि I probably want to move to a city wherein I can actually speak the language. So fun fact, I
Hmm.
am a Malayali, so Tamil and Malayalam is like similar. But then I'm born
Hmm.
and brought up in Bombay, so मेरा Malayalam भी
अच्छा.
broken ही है. It's like I understand, I can like I cannot speak that
Hmm.
well. तो
Hmm.
वहां से फिर I was like कि Hyderabad is a good opportunity. Hyderabad was super booming as
Hmm.
well.
Hmm.
So I went into this program manager two role. It was a operations heavy role. Programs से ज्यादा it was operations, but it was to handle the holiday contingencies, planning,
Hmm.
जो disruptions होता है in Amazon's network.
Hmm.
तो वहां पे
Hmm.
था 6 months into it. Luckily for me, I got a call by the Salesforce HR saying that there's a product manager role. But then the problem over there was I was reporting to an engineering director. So I think this is something that I really believe in is that
Okay.
product should not report to engineering, right? Because engineering
Okay.
is a different viewpoint, product is a different viewpoint. So just to give you an
Hmm.
example, a product manager will optimize for the business and for the customers.
True.
Engineering
Right.
manager will optimize for the technical capabilities of the system,
Right.
right? So
Right. Right.
I honestly believe कि जब भी कुछ नया तुम प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च कर रहे हो तो रिसोर्सेज
Hmm.
कंस्ट्रेंट शुड बी दी सेकंड प्रायोरिटी. थोड़ा कस्टमर को एक्स्ट्रा दे दो, राइट? लाइक यू कैन सी राइट नाउ
Hmm.
उन्होंने सब कुछ फ्री भी कर दिया है because they are gearing up for the IPO. That is a business
अच्छा.
decision, right? And now that is
Hmm.
helping, right? Because
Hmm.
one, like your engineering team would say, or maybe some other team would say that it is losses or whatever. But then वो जो पूरा image है, I think if you have seen Zepto's Reddit page and all, I don't want to
Hmm.
name the name of the subreddit, but वहाँ पे काफी खराबी है उसका image, and to make those
Hmm.
changes perception and all these things are important. तो
Right.
engineering और product अलग रहना ही best होता है. So that is when
Hmm.
I landed into it. Product roles, I think, I mean, it's been like a brilliant journey. I don't doubt my
Hmm.
decision.
Hmm.
B2B,
Hmm.
I had chances to, work separately on B2C products as well as say outside consulting and all those things as well.
Right. Right.
So no, there's not a single day where I regret being in product. So that is
Hmm.
first part of your question. Second, building in
Hmm.
AI. So ऐसा कोई decision नहीं था. Salesforce में there was this hackathon week kind of a thing wherein we
Okay.
were asked on AI and all those things. So as I said, like
Hmm.
there was engineering team से काम कर रहा था. So we built
Hmm.
a MVP in like 4 to 6 weeks using Salesforce का एक platform है called Einstein, which sits on top of these LLM models, these premium LLM models. So the entire
Hmm.
problem was that let's say a Salesforce or any company, कोई भी company आप
Hmm.
ले लो,
Hmm.
not all developers under an engineering manager would work on the same,
Right.
first of the project idea, second on the same
Hmm.
programming language.
Right.
But then काफी teams cost cutting के लिए क्या करती है, they have their developers and then they ask those developers only to be QA for the other developers, so
Okay.
that
Okay.
they get understanding of the different
Hmm.
programming languages and
Right.
projects. Second main reason I think is cost cutting, right? You don't need a
Hmm.
QA team.
Hmm.
So now the problem is कि product managers, I think, and then entrepreneurs and other thing, they have an idea of other angles of anything. But
Hmm.
developers नहीं होता. They are, I mean, it's not, I'm not saying this in a bad way, but then उनका बहुत one dimensional होता है. Like if they're working on Java, उनको Java
Hmm.
ही बारे में पता होता है या JavaScript के ही
Hmm.
बारे में पता होता है. Right now,
Hmm.
obviously, changing with AI and everything.
Hmm.
So they were like, and they don't work as much as we do, right? And I think that's a good thing as well. They
Ooh,
work
that's
like,
a hot take.
I mean, वो प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर्स का तो
As
होता
I
ही
said, you guys, Kevin is known for his hot takes on AI and a pinch of humor. So here we have him. Yes, Kevin.
है. नहीं तो वो तो I mean, so the thing is कि you can take it in two ways, right? Like if they are
Yeah.
able to be paid as much as we are, or maybe more in some tech company
Right.
by working less, then I think they are winning. But then
Hmm.
at the same time, I know for a fact that so many people. So anyway, coming back to the point, so if they're, let's say, working 6 hours and they were like working very hard for those 4 hours, and let's say they were contributing
Hmm.
100 rupees to revenue. The
Hmm.
other 2 hours when they were, let's say, doing QA, the numbers can be off. I'm just giving an example. The other
Hmm.
2 hours which were there, right, they were just doing QA work. उनको कुछ पता ही नहीं था. They had to context switch and everything. That was hardly
Hmm.
contributing to any revenue. Probably like five,
Hmm.
10 rupees or something like that. Right. So
Hmm.
it is a very big drain on the resources and all of those things. So we built an AI product wherein, at least for the MVP zero, I won't go into the details of the product because of time constraints or whatever. But then
Yeah.
what it did, right, was that ये जो QA वाला जो काम था, at least 80 to 90% of it could have been automated by AI. Just to give you an
Hmm.
example, let's say अगर वो एक simple code function है wherein the code name is, let's say, add and open close bracket with variables and
Hmm.
everything, and
Hmm.
inside
Hmm.
the code, inside the code block, it is doing multiplication or subtraction. These are things which AI can automatically detect. इसके लिए
Right.
तुम्हें QA इंजीनियर नहीं बिठाना है कि भाई वो ऐड
Hmm.
कर रहा है multiply कर रहा है. दिस इज अ वेरी बेसिक एग्जांपल. सिमिलरली देयर आर
Hmm.
लाइक एन नंबर ऑफ एग्जांपल्स व्हिच आर देयर. तो हमने क्या किया,
Hmm.
यही को वी मेड दी, जो हमारा जो प्रोडक्ट था उसको ही हमने बेसिकली बोला कि भाई तुम ये सब जो सिंपलर टास्क है विच आर रिपीटेटिव टास्क, जिसमें थोड़ा
Hmm.
सा एआई एंड लॉजिक के थ्रू दिस कैन बी सॉल्व, तुम कर लो. सो दिस लेड टू लाइक अराउंड 80% रिडक्शन ऑफ क्यूए टाइम, राइट. उनको बीस
Okay.
परसेंट को, एंड 80% फॉर एन एमवीपी
It's
जीरो इज
huge.
इनसेन. या
Huge.
एंड हाँ,
Crazy.
और फिर बाद में वहां पे आई फिगर्ड आउट कि भाई एआई का कैपेबिलिटी तो बहुत है, right? And over
Hmm.
time, if you see the investments, if you see how much money people are putting on AI, the Microsofts and the Googles
Hmm.
and the IBM is also investing, so many other companies are investing. तो आई थिंक काफी लोग भी बोलते रहते AI is a bubble, ये वो. आई थिंक बबल हो या ना हो, that is irrelevant. It's that if even if the bubble breaks, will another bubble or will another reality be brought on? And I think जितना investment हो रहा है, इट इज डेफिनेटली पॉसिबल. लाइक इवन इन द डॉट कॉम बबल जो हुआ, इंटरनेट बबल जो भी बर्स्ट हुआ था,
Hmm.
यूजिंग
Hmm.
दैट, राइट. इवन दो टू अ लेसर डिग्री द वैल्यूएशन जिस पे वो चल रहा था उतना नहीं होगा, बट इट इज स्टिल
Hmm.
गोइंग ऑन. एआई में भी वैसा
Hmm.
ही होगा. लाइक there is no way that Microsoft is spending trillions, all your big companies are spending trillions just to be like super bad at it. If
Hmm.
you have seen Google's
Kevin,
product.
coming on to the 80% thing, reduction in time, I don't know. I mean, like IBM is quite a huge enterprise, but do you think manual testing as a activity will go obsolete? Because in a lot of small companies, it's still going on. What do you feel like? How do you see the future of it?
So I think if you know about this company called Browser Stack, right?
Okay, yeah.
There's a company which is very good when it comes to, testing and all those things. काफी
Mm-hmm.
चीजें उन्होंने automate कर दी है. तो I honestly think that it is something testing and all those things. At least see, there are two kinds. एक जिसमें सिर्फ rule based है, वो तो easy है to do it because it just needs an automation,
Yeah.
right? But then if there
Mm.
is a small intelligence layer, and as we move on to AGI, AS and all, it is definitely possible because you have built a product. कितने
Mm-hmm.
टाइप ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स कैन हैपन? 10, 15, 20, राइट? उससे ज्यादा तो नहीं होगा. सो दीज आर थिंग्स विच
Mm.
एआई कैन पॉसिबली प्रेडिक्ट. फर्स्ट तो रूट कॉज एनालिसिस है, एंड देन फिगरिंग आउट अ वे टू गेट अ सोल्यूशन टू इट शुडंट टेक be that much of a problem. So I'm not saying कि
Mm.
पूरा ही automate हो जाएगा. I think there is nothing in this नहीं, there are a lot of things, but
Mm.
high money जो problems होता है, there is
हाँ.
nothing in those things जहाँ पे completely wipe out कर सकता है. There has to be some
Mm.
human group, at least for now.
आई फील मैनुअल टेस्टिंग विल गो, स्पेशली जहाँ पे बहुत ही लो की एफर्ट है विद रिगार्ड्स टू टेस्टिंग बेसिक लेवल पे, राइट? Kevin, AI system are learning and evolving faster than ever now, and I'm sure you might be having enormous data streams when you're working at enterprise AI, right? So while working with data as an AI product leader, what is your guiding light? Like what you decide that this data is something to be prioritized and this is maybe fluff. What are your guiding metrics for that?
First of all, when it comes to huge amounts of data, right, this is something I spoke about before, is that volume of data does not always mean that it is good data. राइट? बिकॉज
Hmm.
डेटा का ये चीज होता है, डेटा हैपेंस आफ्टर अ यूजर एक्टिविटी इज डन. तो इट इज अ
Hmm.
लॉट ऑफ द टाइम्स इट इज लैगिंग. लाइक इवन इफ यू
Hmm.
कलेक्ट डेली आरली डेटा, इट इज स्टिल लैगिंग
Hmm.
बिकॉज वो 1 घंटे के बाद आता है, 1 दिन के बाद आता है, right? So it
Hmm.
doesn't, more data means more benefits or something like that. That is number one. So I think so. Now इसमें AI का काफी अच्छा ये होता है बिकॉज वो ऑब्जर्वेबिलिटी बेटर होता है, तो यू गेट मोर ग्रैन्युलर, मोर रियल टाइम डेटा, right? But then
Hmm.
coming back to your question, what becomes your guiding light? I think two things, right? First obviously is the adoption part of it, कि मतलब तुम सही फीचर ला रहे हो, यूजर ने बोला कि
Hmm.
okay, this is something that will make me give you more money. But if they're not using
Hmm.
it, it just means कि you have won the deal for now, right? तुम
Okay.
in the future, if we are not able to convince them on that product, तो तुम आगे के
Hmm.
licenses कैसे बेचोगे? Let's say even if it's
Hmm.
good case 5 साल का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट भी है, तो इट डजेंट मैटर बिकॉज आफ्टर दोस 5 years इट वोंट. सो एडॉप्शन बिकम्स अ ह्यूज थिंग. लाइक अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल दैट आई टॉक टू एंड ऑल, उनको लगता है कि द मोमेंट समबडी विंस अ डील, गेम इज ओवर, राइट? वो
Hmm.
नहीं होता.
Hmm.
यू हैव टू मेक श्योर कि वो एडॉप्शन हो रहा है एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स,
Hmm.
एंड देन एडॉप्शन के बाद भी इज इट टाइम टू देयर डेफिनेशन ऑफ फेलियर और सक्सेस,
True.
राइट? देर आर सम प्रोडक्ट्स विच प्रेडिक्ट्स फेलियर्स इन देयर सिस्टम्स. तो वो चीज
Hmm.
बराबर हो रहा है क्या? एंड देन फाइनली जो भी हम recommendations दे रहे हैं एज अ प्रोडक्ट और वट एवर वी आर ट्राइंग टू सॉल्व, इज इट एक्शनेबल इनफ फॉर देम?
Hmm.
For
Hmm.
example, let's say I have a
Hmm.
product which basically observes my customer data and all and gives suggestions. ठीक है, कुछ भी
Hmm.
suggestion, not, but is the
Hmm.
customer acting on it? ठीक
Okay.
है, because if the customer is not acting on it, either they don't trust it or they trust कि नहीं, मैं manually check करके ही करूंगा. That means कि they are not in it for the long haul.
Can you,
So are
is
they?
it possible for you to share an anecdote, particular anecdote which you felt like aha moment for you while, you sort of use certain data which was, sort of not looking relevant, but you actually focused on that and came out something very special?
How do I put it? Ek to I think the one which I was mentioning before, right? How much a simple color change makes a huge
Yeah.
difference. That
Yeah.
was a very good aha moment at the start of my product journey or whatever.
Hmm.
Second aha moment was that ki I think it's not exactly a aha moment. It's basically a major enlightening moment. Is that
Mm-hmm.
customers in general, right? They are very
Mm-hmm.
scared of change or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say they have the best product. They see
Mm-hmm.
that, okay, this will drive a change, or this will make sure ki whatever the problems are getting solved, but it requires a
Hmm.
lot of effort, or there is a lot
Hmm.
there might be a chance that something might break, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
let's say probabilities dekh lo, 80%
Hmm.
probability that you will start getting better, but there's a
Hmm.
2% probability that your system might break if you do this
True.
change,
True.
right? So
True. True.
because two reasons, because उनके पास भी इतना customer data and all होता है, so
Hmm. Hmm.
they
Hmm.
not ready to take that risk, right? So
Hmm.
that was a aha moment for me in terms of storytelling कि भाई तुमने अगर ढंग से अपना storytelling नहीं किया है, so they will
Hmm.
always be safe option over something which might have a little risk, but it
Hmm.
can make a huge difference in their lives. So I think
Hmm.
that is what I totally agree. You wouldn't want to break something which is working because काफी customer depend होता है उसमें.
So, Kevin, you have mentioned particularly where you have took a product from MVP to a launch, right? And I'm sure that comes from a credible journey, a credible experience to speak of, right? So, I must ask you as a product leader, what are your hard lessons you stick by while you're validating an AI product?
I'll be very honest with you. I think I am also super new to this. So I
Yeah,
wouldn't make tell ki this is something that is set in stone for me.
yeah.
Because the way things are moving, right? Like I'll just give you an example. So I am super into agents and agentic AI. I think you can see into
Right, right.
them because I think it's the next big thing. Right. So
Hmm.
I used to always think that chunking is basically dividing knowledge bases into different parts, right? So yeah, this is
Hmm.
something that I was doing on the side on the weekends and all. So I used to always think that, chunking and indexing is a good way to build chatbots,
Okay.
for customers and
Can
all
you
of
can
those
you
things.
define chunking for our audience in your context?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll not give the exact technical explanation. So just to understand it better, like let's
Hmm.
say you are asking a question. So instead of the LLM or everybody going looking at the entire knowledge base to ask question, to check for
Hmm.
answers, give back to the question, it will basically divide the
Hmm.
knowledge base into certain parts. So that
Okay.
compute power is reduced. You don't like, let's say if I want to ask you about your podcasting journey, you wouldn't
Hmm.
reference your work notes for that because that both
Okay.
of them are different. So you are
True.
chunking your brain into podcasting memory, working memory, your other hobbies memory, and let's say
Okay.
one vessel. So wo basically like in a very crude way of explaining, but that is what chunking is, right? So wo wala agar
Hmm.
aap so this I used to always think that there is no better way than chunking based on, let's say, XYZ things. But recently, like when we
Hmm.
were talking about XYZ is basically will be too technical right now. So recently when we were talking, we just realized keep having a fixed set of way of breaking down knowledge base is never, the right way, because the use
Hmm.
case is so vast and so different at this
Hmm.
moment. So I wouldn't say that I
Hmm.
have any hard lessons when it comes to,
Hmm.
taking a AI product to launch. But then having
Hmm.
said that, I think lessons wise, the number one thing is security and compliance, right?
Hmm.
B2B हो, B2C हो, कुछ भी हो जाए. Because like whenever something new comes, right, the curve says कि there is a small people who are early adopters. Early
Hmm.
adopters ने validate करके word of mouth वगैरह सब करके उसको famous कर दिया. Then your
Okay.
major adoptions and everybody comes in.
Right.
Now,
Right.
if you look for your early adopters के लिए ना trust becomes a huge factor, because सब लोग को पता है
Okay.
कि AI अपना फोटो लेके or any for that.
Hmm.
So if you do not
Hmm.
have your security compliance ethics right, you will lose out on
Hmm.
your early adopters. And AI is still at its very AI nascent stage, right?
Right. Right.
Like
Right. Right.
basically we just follow people who are super into AI, but then people like I know so many people who are working in proper corporate offices, not so many, it's very few number, but they don't know about ChatGPT also. So it is not as
Hmm.
common as we think, right?
Hmm.
तो वो
Do
एक
you look?
काफी
Do you refer to market leaders? What your other competitors are doing in your context for references for building frameworks and like that?
yeah, we have to be super honest.
But they're
करना
not
पड़ता
out
है.
in open. Like, how do you sort of take notes? I mean, like, to be very frank.
There are certain sites which basically tell you
अच्छा.
enough about what you want to know. So I think first तो यही हो जाता है कि it is basically super into accountability and the guardrails kind of a thing that is super important,
Hmm.
security and stuff like that. Because I think AI कितना भी आगे चला गया हो at this moment, humans still have that slight bit of difficulty or how do I put it, a slight resistance when it comes to AI because they don't seem to
Okay.
connect with it, right? Because if you look
Hmm.
at the responses as well, that is not how a normal human works. Like take
Hmm.
any response, ask any question without any prompt,
Hmm.
right? Like let's say I'm talking to you and I'm like, hey Varun, how was your day? And if you just
Hmm.
ask this to ChatGPT, response becomes like super ऐसे थोड़ी बात करते हैं. That's the whole point. So people are not able to connect with AI. So accountability, trust and all is at a
Trust.
all time low. So that is the number one thing कि मतलब security guardrails कहाँ आता है. And two, I
Hmm.
think I've seen that if you are an AI leader, and at some cases, and this is what I'll talk about in LinkedIn as well, is that there
Hmm.
are some cases where you don't need AI per se, right?
Yeah.
Because तो वो अगर तुम एक्टिवली ये करते हो ना, तो आई एक्टिवली ट्राई टू कन्वे दी मैसेज कि देर आर सम थिंग्स इन विच अ सिंपल ऑटोमेशन कैन वर्क एंड आई थिंक दैट
Hmm.
ब्रिंग्स पीपल trust, helps them trust me more because I'm not trying to sell myself or sell my products more, right? So that is
Hmm.
another hard lesson ki I'll only use AI when it's needed, right? And
Hmm.
third, I think accountability is something very important, right? Everybody talks about
Hmm.
the good part when everything goes right. What
Right.
about the bad parts? Or what about if it fails, then
Can
who
you
is
can you give
responsible?
us a shade of what bad can happen with AI? Like how bad can it happen with your
Yeah, so I
lens?
think have you seen those posts? I think वो sarcasm है, satire है या पता नहीं, but I know people who have been asked to come clean up their AI coding mess, the vibe coding mess that has been created,
Yeah, I've seen
right?
vibe coding myth experts. Like, are you talking about that? Okay, yeah,
Yes, yes. So वो तो
yeah,
satire है, but that is actually true, right? Because so I won't get into names, but I think वो जो chunking वाला जो मैं बता रहा था आपको example, right? उसका
yes,
first use case तो ये आया था कि they have the best in class engineers working, best in class नहीं, they have good engineers working, they're paying them a good amount of salary, तीन चार लोग मिला के महीने का 1.5 2 लाख उस पे spend हो रहा है, and they are still
hmm,
not getting good responses, right?
hmm,
And the whole problem over there was that एक they if something broke, right, and उन्होंने भी कोई AI coding या vibe coding या ऐसे ही कुछ करके बना दिया होगा, and they didn't know
hmm,
कि भाई वो if something breaks, who is it responsible on? Like let's say they bring me in, I use AI and everything to do it,
hmm,
and see,
hmm,
it is not even AI's fault for that matter when it comes to vibe
hmm,
coding बोल रहा हूँ.
right,
Vibe coding
अच्छा,
करके तुमने एक ऐप बना दिया, you are basically
hmm,
using a set of prompts. Now when
yeah,
you
yeah,
want
yeah.
to update that app, you're not giving the same context or you're not giving the same
Hmm,
क्योंकि अभी तक ना even chat gpt for that matter, another hot take for that matter is that even chat gpt and a lot of llms have not cracked the memory layer completely.
right,
तो जो
right,
तुम
right, right, right,
MVP
right, right.
जीरो में जो मेमोरी होता है, कंटेक्चुअल मेमोरी, सेशन मेमोरी, जो भी मेमोरी बोलो, तुम
Hmm,
MVP 1 लॉन्च कर रहे हो 2 हफ्ते बाद, दैट वो टाइम पे lovable replit or any vibe coding app won't have that much memory of what was done before. You are
hmm.
expecting it to
It's a
remember everything.
nightmare for the architects, right? If I'm right, what do you think?
हाँ, आर्किटेक्ट्स
For
के लिए तो
someone
है ही.
coming in between to actually do the full architecture, it's a nightmare for them. And also, do you think that it's better to restrict, let's say, vibe coding or prototyping till the PM use case and not go for the engineering part? Do you think that is sane?
No, so what I would recommend or what I also do is that you use the vibe coding to test out your hypothesis or your
Yeah,
MVP,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? You figure out your initial 50, 100 customers or whatever, see if there is a need, see if they're
Right,
playing
right,
with the flow and everything.
right,
ये सब हो जाए and you see a part to grow it from 100 to 1000, 10,000 or whatever, that is when you bring in your engineering blocks,
right, right,
right? So
right,
I
right,
think
right.
it is not कि नहीं होना चाहिए, it is definitely needed, and that is where PM roles are getting better, right? Because
Hmm.
पहले PMs you were at the mercy of engineers, designers and all those things. अभी वो है ही
Hmm.
नहीं. We have like
Acha, yeah,
initially it
it
was
has changed.
just,
Even at a
yeah,
big firm like IBM, it has changed, right? Because a lot of
बाहर probably it's
approvals
a little
take place.
slow.
Now that's why I'm asking
Yeah, yeah,
at
yeah. It is a
larger.
little slow at enterprise companies, तो वो थोड़ा
Hmm.
slow है. But yeah, I mean, you can whip up a quick dashboard, you can whip up a quick design framework and everything. Obviously, if
Hmm.
you're too much into AI, तुम देख के ही समझ जाओगे कि ये AI ने बनाया नहीं बनाया, right? Like if
Mm,
lovable और replit का templates तो मेरे को बायट हो गया, तो if I somebody shows me a website I can understand कि भाई ये तो AI generated ही
mm.
है, तो that is like a small thing, but apart from that, yeah.
Also, Kevin, I'd like to plug in that all the big techs have come forward to create an open standard for the AI agents, right? And
Hmm.
since you're working in that domain very well, and also that your organization is also teaming up with the biggies like AWS. So, can you give us a
Hmm.
peek in the future? What lies ahead in the world of agentic AI? How it's going to turn out? Right now, it's in the nascent stage.
So for agentic AI, right, I think I wouldn't get so much into enterprises because probably they are a year back or 6 months back. Because
Hmm.
again, like for B2C, तुम अगर कुछ issue कर देते हो तो you just affect one user or 10 user. But for
Hmm.
B2B, if an agentic AI or a vibe coding thing gets wrong, you are affecting
Right.
hundreds of thousands of millions of
And
users.
the stake is high, like the whole account
ब्रांड
blows up, right?
ब्रांड इमेज राइट, कि मतलब
Yeah.
अभी तुमने वो पढ़ा होगा, डेलॉइट एआई जनरेटेड रिपोर्ट्स भेज रहा
Ah.
था। तो
Yeah, yeah,
मतलब
yeah.
आई मीन नाउ हु इज गोइंग टू, आई मीन ऑब्वियसली दे विल, डेलॉइट का उतना ब्रांड इमेज है, बट यू इफ यू आर अ बिग कंपनी और तुम डेलॉइट के पास
Hmm.
जाना चाह रहे हो, यू विल थिंक
Hmm.
ट्वाइस राइट नाउ, बिकॉज दो बार हो गए, एक बार दो
अच्छा.
बार होके इट हैज कम इन द न्यूज,
Hmm.
राइट? देयर मस्ट हैव बीन सो मेनी, लाइक सब लोग करते हैं, दैट इज नॉट द पॉइंट, बट देन यू नीड टू नो कि मतलब इट शुडंट ब्लो बैक ऑन यू। आई थिंक
True.
वो डिलीजेंस होता है, तो बी टू बी में इतना नहीं, बी टू सी में देयर इज इनसेन स्कोप, राइट? द like I me and my friend, I think we are also working on the memory layer as well. Memory layer crack किया ना तो agentic AI, agentic operations can solve so many complex use cases, like the one which I was talking about on LinkedIn, the stock market thing। वो कितना
Hmm.
अच्छे से कॉन्टेक्स्ट, इट इज क्या बोलते हैं, जनरेटिंग एंटरप्राइज लेवल रिपोर्ट जो गोल्डमैन सैक्स, आई मीन प्रॉपर फंड हाउसेस करता है इन लाइक टू
Hmm.
मिनट्स राइट उसको। एंड नाउ एड ऑन मेमोरी लेयर, like let's say Varun is a risk averse investor, or let's say Varun does not
Hmm.
invest in 9 out of 10 companies, right? Only
Hmm.
9 out of 10 industries, तुम सिर्फ बैंकिंग और आईटी में इन्वेस्ट करते हो, ये एजेंटिक
Hmm.
एआई को पता है, तो वो लाइक वो इट कैन गिव यू दोस टेलर्ड सजेशंस। इट कैन ऑल्सो टेल यू कि, एंड देन उसमें अगर एक ये भी लेयर लेके आ गया कि भाई द होल मार्केट इज डाउन, so you need to
Hmm.
be a little cautious, so it is almost working as a human। so I think memory layer, the moment somebody cracks it, and I think if you look at the competitors in this space as well, right, they are also struggling, भले ही funding आ रहा है, सब आ रहा है, but they are
Hmm.
solving for very small use cases, so I think memory layer
Hmm.
and agentic or AI mix हो गया,
But I
nothing is
guess it will also
impossible।
open up a domain of data privacy, data security, right? With the load of data being pushed into such AI systems, right? I guess it will open up some new business opportunities as well. So, Kevin, you mentioned about the stakes part. Unlike B2C, where the stakes are a bit lower than B2B, right? I mean, like a small mistake can blow up the whole account for you guys, right? So, how do you take care while devising AI experiences for each and every persona when it comes to B2B or let's say enterprise AI? What are go-to framework is what I'm interested in actually.
सी गो टू फ्रेमवर्क पर से तो मैं ऐसे कुछ बोलूंगा नहीं, स्पेशली इन बी टू बी, बिकॉज इट्स
अच्छा.
स्टिल डेवलपिंग, इट्स स्टिल न्यू। बी टू सी
हम्म.
में पार्ट ऑफ द स्टोरी टेलिंग एंगल, राइट? लाइक लेट्स से यू आर मीटिंग सम company to whom you're
हम्म.
pitching up AI product or AI feature or solution, you don't need
Right.
to explain everything that the product does to, let's say, everybody। तुम एक एसआरई,
अच्छा.
सॉरी, सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट इंजीनियर को उतना ही बताओ, तुम एक लाइक चंकिंग एंड
Okay.
रैग बेस जो है वो मैं डेवलपर्स को बताऊंगा, आई विल नॉट टेल दी सीएक्सओस एंड द लीडर। सो दैट इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट कि कितना कंटेक्स्ट कितने लोग को
हम्म.
देगा, right? So that is, there is no framework, it's just a practical जुगाड़ू way of doing things।
हम्म.
सेकंड आई थिंक जो सबसे पहला फ्रेमवर्क यही होता है कि you don't, how do I put this, you don't tell what you know, you tell what the user wants to know, right? You have heard
हम्म.
of those things as well। तो तुम जब
Yeah, yeah.
अपना प्रोडक्ट पिच करते हो, you don't tell them कि how your product is superior, they're talking to you because they think your product is superior, right? Or it is good enough, right? You instead
Yeah.
tell how it is solving their major problems, and that is where customer research, user research, pain points and all comes in। तो ये सब है. आई डोंट हैव लाइक अ प्रॉपर फ्रेमवर्क जो मैं फॉलो करता ही हूँ. आई बी सुपर ऑनेस्ट विथ
हम्म
यू. राइट, इट्स जस्ट आई only thing that I care about is, am I telling only the most crisp, accurate information to a certain stakeholder? One, and second, how is it helping them rather than how I am like my product is superior or something like that.
You're also part of the client-facing calls sometimes, along with the sales team. That's a very
Yes.
uh,
Hmm.
because
नहीं,
that would
yes,
be
I
very
think that
interesting
is
for you to take the all their insecurities, all their doubts right up to the face, and maybe solve
नहीं,
them.
वो तो है एंड यू विल बी शॉक्ड एट सम ऑफ द थिंग्स दैट हैपन. ऑब्वियसली सब कुछ का आई डोंट थिंक आई विल बी एबल टू कवर दैट बिकॉज दैट इज क्लाइंट डेटा, कस्टमर डेटा एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स. बट
Hmm.
लाइक काफी इंसाइट्स मिलता है, राइट? लाइक यू विल बी हैविंग लाइक अ फुल्ली फंक्शनल प्रोडक्ट और तुम एक कॉल पे बैठे हो, यू listen to something and then you're like, oh my god, I mean, probably this is not the right way of looking at things. Then you'll have to start from scratch again if it's that big of an insight. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean,
Also, things
and
have changed so fast. Sometimes you'd be, I mean, like, although it might sound controversial, sometimes sitting with very experienced leadership who's a bit, let's say have a generation gap. So it might be very tough for you to set the context and convey and communicate things to them, right? It might be a big challenge as an AI
right,
leader.
right. So that comes at in the framework that I was talking about. How am I helping them?
Hmm. Right.
Right? How am I helping them? तुमने समझा दिया ना, तो फिर they are able to connect the dots. See, they are senior leaders for a reason. The moment you
Hmm.
tell them how it is solving their pain points, then they are able to connect the dots. Rather than मैं जाके बोलूँ मेरा AI ये करेगा, वो करेगा, ये करेगा, they'll probably forget by the time I finish.
Overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So वही
True,
है.
true. Now we'll talk about the product management part specifically. So, how do you see AI turning things for product management? Will it be more intuitive and scientific for us, or let's say it will help us to be more creative while it takes the whole monotonous or the mundane job of a PM? And also at the same time, I'd like to be specific for you, guiding a young Kevin right now entering the world of AI product management with three
Mhm.
tips or advices.
Uh, okay. The first thing I think PMs will become more scientific and creative, right? I think they
Acha.
have to instead. So initially there is this concept that I learned in Amazon called influence without authority. Amazon के leadership principles में आता है. Right? And it's a very
Okay.
important leadership principle which basically says that बिना authority के how am I influencing? That is also why I started writing on LinkedIn. Right?
Hmm.
I mean, obviously brands है तो people might be listening to me more, but
Right.
then it is essentially influencing without authority and obviously storytelling as well.
Hmm.
तो वो बहुत
Hmm.
इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है, राइट? तो आई थिंक
Hmm.
that is where I am coming from, is that ki, you need to be more scientific and creative, as in initially you were depending on, let's say, your designers, your architects तो चलो
Hmm.
it's a very niche field, your developers, but
Hmm.
now it is very simple to whip up prototypes or a design website or whatever, right? तो वो
Hmm.
लूप बहुत छोटा हो गया है, तो being creative has
Hmm.
become easier, right? क्योंकि काफी
Okay.
टाइम initially what used to happen before was that I used to have brilliant ideas, right? And वो
Hmm.
डिजाइन या मार्केटिंग टीम्स ये कर देती थी बिकॉज दे वर लाइक कि प्रोडक्ट को क्या पता है. बट नाउ
Hmm.
लाइक आई कैन क्विकली डू इट, आई कैन विप अप अ प्रोटोटाइप, एंड नाउ ऑब्वियसली लिंक्डइन का वो क्लाउड भी आ गया है, तो
Hmm.
it helps. But then even without
Hmm.
that, I think it is so simpler, and I'm like कि, okay, you know what, let's do an A/B testing. I have my
True.
vision, you have your vision,
Hmm.
let's do it. And more often than not, I win because एक तो I am grounded in data. I know what
Hmm.
is working on LinkedIn, लोगों को क्या पसंद है. LinkedIn is majorly corporate people. तो उधर जो
Hmm.
लोगों को पसंद है उधर से कुछ तो insights आता ही है in your day to day as well,
That's a
right? So
major,
that is
major
where I
insight you
win.
have given to PMs.
हाँ. हाँ,
Yeah.
मतलब तुम देखो लाइक यूट्यूब में पीपल कम इन फॉर, इट्स अ कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ बोथ लर्निंग एंड डूम स्क्रोलिंग, राइट? सो
Ah.
यू विल गेट सम
Hmm.
इनसाइट. इंस्टाग्राम से तुम क्या,
Hmm.
इट्स मेजरली डूम स्क्रोलिंग, राइट? वही होता है.
Hmm.
लिंक्डइन
In the
में भले
comments.
लिंक्डइन में भले ही द क्लाउड इज लाइक द क्राउड इज लोअर और देर इज नॉट
Hmm.
मच, बट दोज आर CXO लेवल पीपल. वहां पे जो मेरे इंटरेक्शंस होते हैं, अभी हाउ डिड आई अंडरस्टैंड दैट आई नीड टू टेल पीपल ओनली व्हाट इज रेलेवेंट, लाइक वो जो मैंने वो एआई वाला जो एजेंट भेजा था, इट इज बेसिकली एलएलएम काउंसिल जो अंद्रिज करपाती कर रहा था, वी
ओके।
डिड इट लाइक 4 months बैक। तो मैं जब लोगों
हम्म।
से बात कर रहा हूँ, दीज आर पीपल जिनके टाइटल्स में जेन एआई प्रोडक्ट लीडर लिखा है, ये लिखा है, दे डोंट नो एनीथिंग, नो ऑफेंस टू देम, बट इन
Another
टर्म्स
hot
ऑफ,
take.
नहीं अरे नहीं, आई एम नॉट इवन,
नहीं
इट्स
नहीं,
नॉट
या
इवन लाइक अ
ओपन फॉर
ऑफेंसिव
इट, या
स्टेटमेंट।
या
काफी लोगों को नहीं पता है वो सब, आई डोंट, आई एम नॉट सेइंग मेरे को पता है, आई
See,
आल्सो
I
नो
also
देयर।
think they do for LinkedIn optimization. I think हर
हाँ
कोई बंदा मतलब हर चीज के आगे यही लिख दिया है. That's more like कि, something to put in CV वाला, fancy stuff in CV, right? Yeah.
फेयर फेयर फेयर, तो वही है, आई थिंक यू आर वेरी राइट ऑन दैट। तो वहां से मेरे को समझा है कि आई कैन नॉट बी टेलिंग पीपल द फैंसीएस्ट ऑफ टर्म्स, राइट। मैं कल
हम्म
जाके बोलूं कि भाई वरुण, आई एम लॉन्चिंग अ न्यू प्रोडक्ट, उसमें लेट्स से चंकिंग, एलएलएम काउंसिल और लेटेस्ट नैनो बनाना प्रो 2 है, यू विल अंडरस्टैंड प्रोबेबली हाफ ऑफ इट। तुम भले ये फील्ड में हो, एनी लीडर
हम्म
हु इज नॉट इनटू एआई
राइट
और व्हाटएवर, उनको
राइट
क्या
राइट.
समझे, तो वो वाला बहुत ये हो जाता है। तो नाउ इफ आई वांट टू गाइड अ यंगर केविन और प्रोबेबली
हम्म
यंगर एनीबॉडी, आई विल टेल कि भाई लिखना चालू करो लिंक्डइन पे, नॉट, डोंट गो फॉर आउटकम्स, डोंट गो टू मोनेटाइज एंड ऑल, वो तो आएगा इफ यू आर गुड एट इट,
हम्म हम्म.
बट देन लिखो, बिकॉज देर इज नथिंग, राइटिंग इज अ सुपर पावर फॉर
When
पीएम्स।
you say लिखना, when you say writing, you mean documenting experiences specifically, right?
Documenting experiment experience, see, you start off by documenting experiences, then you want कि मेरे को engagement चाहिए, तो you improve your
हम्म.
storytelling, वहां से तुम्हारा
True.
रियल लाइफ में भी स्टोरी टेलिंग इंप्रूव, लाइक आई गिव यू एन एग्जांपल, हमने एक लॉन्च किया था, नाउ बिकॉज आई
हम्म.
राइट ऑन लिंक्डइन, आई नो लोगों को क्या पसंद है, सो इन अ बी
Right.
टू बी स्पेस आई गॉट लाइक 120 रिएक्शंस ऑन माय स्लैक अनाउंसमेंट, भाई 120 लोग इन अ स्लैक, लाइक यू विल बी लाइक इतना बड़ी बात तो नहीं है, बट देन फॉर अ
हम्म.
बी टू बी काइंड ऑफ अ सेटअप जहाँ
Right.
पे तुम एक
True. True.
लॉन्च
True. True.
मैसेज भेज रहे हो,
True. True.
120
True.
आना है, सिंसियर आधे से ज्यादा लोग तो चैनल ओपन नहीं करते हैं तो आई एम
हम्म.
एनीवे डूइंग इट इन अ वेरी, उसमें अगर ये दैट हैपेंड बिकॉज द वे आई रोट इट वाज नाइस, जो मेरे को लिंक्डइन से मिला, तो लिखना चालू करो, देयर इज नो
हम्म.
बेटर ये। एंड
हम्म.
लिंक्डइन का एक और अच्छा बात ये है कि देयर इज अ लिमिट टू द नंबर ऑफ वर्ड्स यू कैन राइट, सो यू आर बेसिकली
Right.
नॉट, जो भी तुम इनसाइट जो भी देना है तुम्हें एक लिमिट में ही देना है, so that makes you
हम्म.
even more potent rather than having a
हम्म.
blog or a newsletter, because उसमें लिमिट नहीं
हम्म.
होती। आई कैन गिव यू
हम्म.
100 pages ऑफ कंटेंट, मैं तो लिखते ही जाऊंगा, तुम पढ़ोगे,
True. True. True.
नहीं
True.
पढ़ो,
True. 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 True.
वैसा।
Attention span भी छोटा हो गया ना लोग. Right.
करेक्ट।
And two more tips which we'd love to hear from you for a young Kevin.
आई थिंक डोंट गो इनटू अ रोल बिकॉज इट्स वेरी फेमस, आई थिंक दैट इज अ
Okay.
वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग आई टेल पीपल,
And why do you say that?
बिकॉज प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट अब भी फेमस है, 10 साल बाद प्रॉब्ली कुछ और फेमस होगा, वाइब
Okay.
कोडर नहीं, आई डोंट थिंक वो फेमस होगा, सम रोल, राइट, बिकॉज इन्वेस्टमेंट
Hmm.
बैंकिंग वाज सुपर फेमस, फिर दैट एंटायर
Hmm.
थिंग हैपेंड, नाउ इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग इज स्टिल फेमस बट द नंबर ऑफ पीपल वांटिंग टू डू इज एट रेड्यूस्ड, फिर
True. True.
मैनेजमेंट कंसल्टिंग था,
True.
अभी भी वो है बट इट हैज reduced, अभी वो प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट का बबल चल रहा है, सबको उसमें ही घुसना है, राइट, बट देन
Hmm.
the supply demand curve is that much because the normal, I think the number has to be 1 PM, तो
Also, I
उतना
feel
तुम्हें
a
मिलेगा ही
PM
नहीं।
as a role is not for everyone, na? Kevin, like the intricacies and the pressure. I mean, like, let's be honest, right? It's not a cutout role for everyone because everyone is hearing this PM jargon on, and they think that they're the CEO of the product and all that. That it excites them. But when it comes to reality, and especially stakeholder management as a term, as a thing, as a function, it's not for everyone, right? What do you think?
नहीं नहीं, ट्रू ट्रू, तो आई मीन सी, पीएम्स का द गुड पार्ट तो मैं लिखता रहता हूँ, सब बोलते रहते हैं, द अनदर गुड पार्ट इज दैट कि जो द पे दैट अ पीएम गेट्स फॉर द नंबर ऑफ आवर्स दे पुट इन इज द हाईएस्ट।
Hmm.
To give you an
Okay.
example, let's say you are earning 1 lakh per month as a PM
Okay.
versus 1 lakh as a consultant versus 1 lakh as an investment banker. Your
Okay.
per
Okay.
hour rate, that sounds very wrong. The per hour तुम्हें जो मिल रहा है, right? It will be
Hmm.
probably the highest for PMs. Like let's say you're getting 4,000 rupees per hour for a PM. Like when you divide it depending on the number of hours. That is why people think it's lucrative, right? But that doesn't
Hmm.
mean कि effortless है, right? You're constantly thinking in the back of your head कि अरे ये कैसे
True.
improve कैसे होगा, कैसे होगा, कैसे
True.
होगा.
True, true.
One. Second, how do I put it in a way that it doesn't sound degrading? So,
नहीं, you can be candid, like definitely.
नहीं, जो इज्जत वगैरह का जो बात होता है, राइट, रिस्पेक्ट एंड ऑल, वो थोड़ा सा
Yeah,
इधर
yeah.
उधर हो जाता है व्हेन इट यू आर एक्चुअली वर्किंग, बिकॉज
True.
डेवलपर्स थिंक यू आर डूइंग नथिंग। सेल्स को
The
लगता
way
है
you
कि
put it.
बिकॉज दे आर इनटू एन ऑपरेशंस हैवी थिंग, दे थिंक कि वही लोग काम कर रहे हैं। मार्केटिंग वाले लोग, मार्केटिंग से तो इतना मेरा होता नहीं है, आई थिंक नॉट अ लॉट ऑफ प्रोडक्ट पीपल स्पीक, दे डू बट नॉट एज मच। एंड देन ऑब्वियसली योर डिजाइन पीपल, आर्किटेक्ट एंड ऑल, सो सबको वही
Hmm.
लगता है कि नहीं है, बट देन it's just कि मतलब, just to give a football analogy because that's what I do most of the time, your midfielder वाला role PM का होता है। if you don't have a midfield, you probably, the team won't
When
work.
everything is going
Similarly,
smooth, no one notices. But when
हाँ,
something gets screwed, it's on you, right? And a lot of
हाँ,
time you are not responsible for it directly, at least.
करेक्ट करेक्ट डायरेक्ट। सो ये हो जाता है कि लेट्स से इंजीनियरिंग में कुछ फट गया, तो वो लोग, एंड
हाँ,
सेल्स और मार्केटिंग से फीडबैक ढंग से नहीं आया करके इंजीनियरिंग में फट गया, तो पीपल ये नहीं बोलेगा कि सेल्स से फीडबैक गलत आया और
पीएम
इंजीनियरिंग
कौन है?
डिड नॉट डू द ड्यू डिलिजेंस, दे वर लाइक इसके
पीएम
बीच में
कौन
का
है?
कनेक्टर कहाँ है।
पीएम कौन है
तो वो
इसका?
हो जाए, हाँ, एग्जैक्टली एग्जैक्टली, तो
हाँ,
वो भी ये हो जाता है। तो आई थिंक दैट इज वेयर आई एम कमिंग फ्रॉम कि सब कुछ एकदम हंकी डोरी लुक्रेटिव लगता है,
नहीं है।
but then it's
राइट।
not that way, because see, if everything is lucrative, if everything is hunky dory, it wouldn't be as much high paying as it is, right? It, when
Hmm.
you hear something like too good to be true, that means it's not too good to be true. So that is
True,
number one.
true.
Second, I would say is go all out on learning about AI, right? I think ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि start building, vibe coding, ये वो वगैरह वगैरह, but at least know कि what all are the possibilities when it comes to AI, right? And that will start
Okay.
with doing automating or doing using AI to do something which you really like in your current life, like trading हो गया, LinkedIn content creation हो गया, or anything, right? So go
Hmm.
all out on AI. I am super bullish. I think that it has like huge potential. थोड़ा फट सकता है बीच में, but it will come back
Hmm.
up and it will be at the very top, right? So
Hmm.
go all out on that. और
Is
बाकी
this
तो I
something you also look while hiring in your team as a hiring leader, a hiring manager?
think I wouldn't say कि it is a make or a break, but if somebody has no clue about all these things, तो
Hmm.
वो थोड़ा सा रेड फ्लैग टाइप्स है, बिकॉज आई माइट थिंक दैट इज दैट पर्सन अवर्स टू लर्निंग, एंड पीएम इज
Hmm.
अनलर्निंग लर्निंग एवरी डे, राइट?
True.
तुम कुछ तो छोड़ देते हो, कुछ नया सीखते हो, वही होता है। तो इफ आई एम सेइंग कि इतना जब बबल हो गया कॉर्पोरेट में, तब तुम्हें अगर एआई के बारे में ज्यादा नहीं पता, आर यू डूइंग इट डेलिबरेटली बिकॉज यू आर अवर्स टू लर्निंग?
When you say Zada, what bare minimum do you ask? Let's say expect knowing about evals, rags, RGs, and all that, or it is something more
नहीं,
like is it more context perspective like that?
नहीं, इवैल्स रैग वगैरह तो नहीं, बिकॉज सी दिस हैपेंड व्हेन आई वाज इन Amazon, राइट? आई
Hmm.
वाज गिविंग एन इंटरव्यू, तो Amazon में 7 राउंड ऑफ इंटरव्यू था। द थर्ड
Okay.
या फोर्थ राउंड वाज अ टेक्निकल इंटरव्यू, जहाँ पे
Hmm.
45 मिनट नहीं, 35 मिनट्स वी वर स्पीकिंग अबाउट माय टेक्निकल कैपेबिलिटीज, डैशबोर्ड्स एंड ऑल। फिर उसने बोला, मैं तुम्हें, आई गिव यू 25 मिनट्स, आई विल आस्क यू 5 SQL क्वेश्चंस, ठीक है?
Okay.
फोर आई आंसर्ड वेरी वेल, फिफ्थ वाज सो बैड, एंड आई वाज लाइक कि लेट्स क्रैक अ जोक टू सी इफ थिंग्स गेट बेटर, एंड आई सेड इफ
Okay.
आई वाज इन योर प्लेस आई वुड हैव रिजेक्टेड माई सेल्फ। तो वो हंसने लग गया, ही इज लाइक कि व्हाट, वी डोंट हायर फॉर दैट बिकॉज टेक्निकल स्किल्स कैन बी टॉट,
And I
राइट?
guess वहाँ
वी
पे
हायर फॉर
product
पर्सनैलिटी।
analyst होंगे where you tell them to run SQL for you, right?
नहीं,
Right?
वो टाइम पे इट वाज अ बिजनेस एनालिस्ट रोल, तो आई वाज
अच्छा
सपोज टू
अच्छा
रन
अच्छा
द क्वेरीज, राइट?
अच्छा अच्छा
Amazon वाला
अच्छा।
जो
Okay.
मेन इंटरव्यू था। तो
Okay.
दैट
Okay.
इज
Okay.
समथिंग आई कैरी, कि मतलब आई एम
Yeah.
ओके
Yeah.
विथ यू नोइंग, नॉट नोइंग टेक्निकल स्टफ, बट देन डू यू
Hmm.
हैव दैट पर्सनालिटी एंड ऑल टू एक्चुअली लर्न? तुम लर्निंग कर्व तुम रख सकते हो क्या, वो इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है। That is number
Hmm.
one. And then over
Hmm.
time, basically, like, what is your current understanding of AI? So one question that I ask is, what is your learning curve of AI in the last 1 2 years? If they have no
Hmm.
learning curve, that means it, I think of it as skeptical. So
Right.
that is what I do. Basic question है, open ended है, you can answer whatever you want, right? I'm using AI to automate, let's say, the मेरा जो driving process है, sorry, car washing process in my house, sorry, in my society.
Hmm.
तुम इसके लिए कर लो ऑटोमेट, आई एम हैप्पी। यू आर एक्चुअली यूजिंग इट टू इम्प्रूव योर डेली वर्कफ्लोज, राइट? मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि
Hmm.
भाई तुम पूरा मेरा प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट सॉल्व कर दो, बट यूज
So
इट
I
फॉर
can
योर
bring
ओन
you a
सेल्फ।
prototype right from scratch to maybe MVP, and maybe as a fresher, I can show you, and maybe there's a chance that Kevin will consider me in his team. Obviously, with due process, right? There's a chance, foot in the door kind of thing.
या इनफैक्ट आई डू अ मेंटोरिंग फॉर अ फ्यू पीपल, राइट? मैं उनको यही बोलता हूँ कि अगर
अच्छा।
तुमने अप्लाई किया और उन्होंने बोला है कि एक डिलीवरेबल दिया है, तो सिर्फ
हम्म।
डिलीवरेबल मत दो, प्रोटोटाइप बना के दो।
हम्म।
बिकॉज दैट,
ओके,
एंड
ओके,
दिस
ओके।
इज एक्चुअली वर्कड, वन ऑफ माई मेंटीज, दे उनका तो इतना क्रेजी हो गया, दे बेसिकली उन्होंने ये करके दिया, पूरे इंटरव्यू में दे डिडंट आस्क एनीथिंग एल्स। तो वो अनसर्टेनिटी फैक्टर चला गया कि भाई व्हाट इज दैट पर्सन गोइंग टू आस्क मी। दे वर ओनली
हम्म।
आस्किंग अबाउट द प्रोटोटाइप, व्हाई डिड यू थिंक ऑफ डूइंग इट, कि तुम्हें मन में कैसे आया प्रोटोटाइप देने का। दिस वाज सम टाइम
हम्म।
बैक, नाउ मस्ट बी अ लिटिल कॉमन, बट वही है कि
हाँ।
इट बेसिकली दे आर लाइक ओके दिस इज समथिंग डिफरेंट। And
हम्म।
all of that stems from your learning curve, right? Did you actually put in efforts to learn about making prototypes? That means
हम्म।
तुम आगे जाके तुम you are teachable. That is the whole concept.
That's true. And you hire for attitude, I guess. I mean, you or
हाँ,
anyone, attitude and the work ethic. I guess these are two primary principles that one hires for. And mind you, guys, Kevin is just 28 and he has all these big techs to his name, and he's already mentoring for something which is live for the future as a profile, right? AI product management. So that's fascinating. And well, that pretty much wraps up my questions for you, Kevin. And thanks a lot for being so candid and so descriptive about your experiences and anecdotes. And I guess this has been one of the most candid episodes I've shot with any guest because we do love hot takes and we do love your pinch of humor on your LinkedIn posts and here. Thanks a lot for taking out time, Kevin. I know you have to jump on some calls. I won't be budging you much.
thank you, thank you. It was a pleasure being here.